here. Oh! Okay, for the next 24 to 48 hours, we are going to be living at the shop, Sierra Adventure Vehicles. So that made me think, I've been YouTubing for years and I don't think I've ever compiled everything into one video of potential problems, issues, van life stuff, health, wellness, like anything that could happen on the road, what those problems are, things that you maybe even never thought about, even if you've been doing this for years like I am. That's why I'm here at the shop today. After about 7 years, I just found a problem that I didn't know would arise. But yeah, put it all into one place and come up with some really great ideas and solutions, so that way you are just as prepared as someone who's fully seasoned, or at least know what to expect while you're on the road. But before that, the shop's about to close and I need to get this in there so we can open our drawers and do everything. It's been kind of a challenge the past couple days. Another thing to note, which I'm sure a lot of you seasoned van lifers will know, is that some of the worst things happen at the worst times. So it's nice to be prepared. Now how am I gonna, this is gonna get heavy. Oh God, wow. Before I go in and ask for help, I wanna make sure I'm prepare this perfectly so they're not waiting in the cold. All right. Oh, this thing's gotta be, I don't know how many pounds. Okay, we're coming under. Highly recommend going to the gym regularly for heavy things like this. Camp, you wanna take that end? I'm good, bro. Thanks. Whoa. Oh yeah. Superwoman. Strong as ever. Wait till you guys see what we're doing and why. 1 second, boys, I'll be right back. One of my first big tips, speaking of which, is every place you go to or every time you get work on your vehicle, make amazing relationships with those people. Treat them like family, treat them like friends. Like these guys, I buy them lunch every time. I love them. And the reason for that, we'll get into a little bit deeper later, but you never know when last minute something's gonna happen and you need help. So also, why not just be friends with everybody you meet? It feels good, right? Where are these guys? What's up, folks? Hey, hey, long time no see.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, bring it in.
Good to see you.
I missed you guys.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Jay, happy holidays, guys. Oh, I love your outfit.
Dirty strip.
Woo!
I got her.
Look at this go. Oh, by yourself, really?
Not too bad.
Here's the next one. Woo. This is the side step.
Oh, the other side.
Yeah, this is the two-pack.
You're on it.
I'll see you guys in the morning. See you in the morning. Hi, boys. We have a lot to talk about, you guys. So let's get into it. And to make sure that I was hitting everything you guys wanted, I also took to Instagram and Facebook and put questions there. So actually a quick note, speaking of shops, one thing is to know your vehicle the best you can and ask people to teach you things. You'll also want to be up on things that could void a warranty if you have one. For instance, in my vehicle, I have a 150,000 mile, 7-year warranty, but I have done things to it that some Mercedes shop would say voids the warranty. Often they tell you that and then they say, but we'll deal with you, we'll help you, and sometimes they won't. And that's something I've learned from the guys here and from being at multiple different dealerships for services and things like that, is one, make sure you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do, but also if one shop tells you that your warranty is voided, another shop probably won't or might not. They're all run separately. They're all on like the same database, but it's all basically like who you're working with. So just an idea is getting multiple opinions. I really suggest that in everything in life, but especially when it comes to vehicle dwelling, just knowing your vehicle, asking shops to teach you things. I can't tell you, every time I have my vehicle worked on, I always ask if I can watch and learn, just in case I'm ever somewhere in the middle of nowhere, so I know how to do things myself. So that includes knowing how to change your tires, things like that. One thing too is if you don't know how to do those things, YouTube Academy is great, but also they have classes all over the country. I know they do off-road classes that can teach you how to change your own tire, make sure you do it on your own. But let's say you can't do it yourself. That gets into AAA. Through this, I also have Mercedes Me, but I have both. Knowing where they will go, how many miles. Often AAA and Mercedes won't go down really gnarly dirt roads, things like that. But they will sometimes change your battery. They'll sometimes change your tire for you. Sometimes they won't. I've had really great experiences and I've had really bad experiences, but before you go places, it's knowing your risk versus reward. I've driven places where knowingly it was going to be thousands of dollars if I needed to get recovered. And I've gone places not knowing anything, and it's been in the middle of nowhere, and it took 3 days to get a battery. The number one thing I get asked all the time is safety. I did make an entire video just on safety that I'll link below, but Cliff Notes version, as someone who has traveled solo for years, trust your gut. That's the biggest thing. Honestly, every time there has been a situation that could be bad, even if it was 3 a.m, I wasn't afraid to just leave. That is the biggest thing, is don't convince yourself you're wrong, things like that. Especially with safety, you don't want to be wrong. So tips and tricks, right? Like a couple times I put out 2 chairs outside around the fire pit, and I took men's shoes and put it outside so it looked like someone was with me. Parking in a specific way underneath the lights if you're in a city. Also, a quick Google search on the crime rate, things like that in the area, just to know the area that you're in. Is it safe? Yeah, I'll link that because it has a lot more pointers, but also if you guys have some pointers, feel free to put it below. As far as physical means of safety, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that here, but also if I told you everything, it might not be that safe anymore, right? But there's, I have some really cool things actually. Hang on. This. I love walking with this at night because it is not only a flashlight, but boys, don't get scared. Oh, yeah, it works. Flashlight taser. I need to recover from that. It shocks me every time. Sorry, boys. My mother, my best friend, and my whole family have my location at all times. And if it doesn't move within 24 hours, we have check-ins. One time I was actually, this was like 5 years ago, I was in my Prius on the California coast and I didn't move for 2 days and I didn't have service. And this is before Starlink and satellite phones and stuff like that. This was before I learned everything. And my mom called the cops to come check on me, and I called her perfect timing when she was dialing to have someone check on me. So that's another thing, frequent check-ins, location. There's also like little things, satellite device phones, Starlink, making sure everything is always right and you're always in communication. Let me show you guys this one right here. If I'm backpacking and I don't have my satellite, or as another option, I do pay for a plan to have satellite messaging. So this will always send a message to my loved ones if I need help. And there's an SOS device on the side where if I am hurt or I can't tell somebody, I just press it and somebody is gonna come and rescue me. So this is great for backcountry stuff. Actually, that reminds me of one more thing. Also, not starting off lying by the seat of your pants. I always made sure that I got to my camp spot before dark if it was in the wild and I could scope it out and know my surroundings. If I was in a city, it was a little bit different. I would go somewhere to let the dogs out to pee, and then really late go to the place I was gonna sleep and never get out of the vehicle so no one knew I was in here. That would also apply for the next morning. I would not get out. I would drive down a little further, then let the dogs out, and then do all my business. That's just the first thing I would do when I wake up. It's just, feels smart. Sometimes it feels redundant, but for the one time that it's not redundant, and the one time you do need it, you're always going to be thankful. Parking in the right direction, where people can't block you. Think of it all, don't we? Okay, we're going to get into temperature stuff because I know that a lot of people don't realize this until they start, me being one of them. So when I first moved into my Prius, I didn't realize that I had heat or cold. I didn't know I had climate control in my hybrid, which is the coolest thing about a Prius. So I had a 0-degree sleeping bag, and when it was hot, and I would just fan each window. I also learned that I needed bug screens and that I could get insulated window covers that would help control the temperature. Let's now talk about what do you do when it's extremely hot and extremely cold. So one thing that is really, really cool about having your home on wheels is that you can travel in the direction that the weather is different. So often when you go higher in elevation, it gets colder. When you go lower in elevation, it gets hotter. And often when you go north, it gets colder, and when you go south, it gets hotter. So that's how a lot of van lifers will travel. In the winter, they'll go south. In the summer, they'll go north. So let's say you are just getting started and you don't have heat or cold. That is a great way to deal with it. With extreme heat and extreme cold, sometimes things malfunction. So I always plan as if you won't have heat or cold, is what I like to say, or at least have a plan to get out in case that happens, or be comfortable. Quick note on the dogs so I don't forget. Dogs in extreme heat and extreme cold, having gear for them. Booties, jackets, things like that. But for the extreme heat, I purposely, the only reason I have my air conditioning is for these dogs. Prius was amazing because climate control, so I could have the car running and it would go through maybe a gallon of gas in over 24 hours, and we'd be running at like 65 degrees for a camper. So that is a really big perk. But I've been in vehicles where I don't have it. I had a portable AC unit at one point for the truck, but essentially I travel and think about them. And if there is extreme heat, I will not do any errands. I won't leave them alone until the sun goes down, just in case there's a malfunction. Because when the sun goes down, what happens? It gets cooler, and the sun isn't beating on the vehicle because vehicles get hotter, things like that. Now, what have I done for extra precaution to be able to monitor the temperature when I do need to leave them alone? I have security cameras that stream right to my phone, but I also have a heating system that streams to my phone and tells me the temperature, so I can watch them and I can see the temperature at all times. And if there is a malfunction, I will be alerted and I will know immediately. Now, the time that I was in sub-freezing temperatures, and the van I was in, it was the teal van, the heating system exploded, literally exploded. Got smoked out and it was freezing. It was so cold. How I dealt with it was the best I could, a positive attitude, and that was the most I could do. So I got basically, I had this like sleeping bag onesie, got the dogs warm, and we just slept in the freezing cold. But you'll want to remember things like winterizing. If your heat breaks, and often I have a lot of friends who have 2 diesel heaters installed because they're notorious for breaking, so they could use the other one. If it does break and you don't have a backup, just know your water system. If you have jugs of water, totally cool. It's not part of your system. If you have a van system that has pipes, make sure you drain them because they will freeze and then you'll have a bigger issue. And make sure that you put water in jugs, or you have something that can, like water in something that can be heated up with propane if the electric batteries get drained from the extreme cold. One time I had to get towed because it was so cold. I did everything right. I put anti-gel in the fuel tank, which if you have a diesel, you'll want to know about anti-gel in extreme cold temperatures, because that can gel up and leave you stranded until you thaw out. And just imagine needing to thaw out and you still have a whole winter ahead of you. That would suck. Just something about extreme cold is something's gonna go wrong. It always does. Nothing likes the extreme cold. Another tip, if you live with dogs, be prepared to eat pounds of dog hair, I'm sure, a year. Additionally, just because you live in a van or a vehicle does not mean that you need to eat terribly, like lazily, like I do. My boyfriend is like chef status, super chef status, especially when we're traveling together. Like, that guy can cook. So that is proof that it's basically you have skills or you don't. Like, if I was in a house, still gonna be cooking like this or eating like this. If you have a max air fan, also be prepared for it to sound like crickets after a certain amount of time and to have to replace the motor or the entire thing if you want it to be quiet. This is my 3rd max air fan and I have yet to have any sound come out of it. So, yay! After you. Oh, actually, that's another thing, is always having the things you need on hand. Don't fall, please. At all times. I have extra jumper cords, even though I also have a huge jumper pack that could even jump a semi-truck if it needed to. Recovery straps, hose, leveling blocks, but also a ton of anti-gel. With that, I also always have a box of DEF fluid in the garage space over here. You never want to be stranded and then, mess up your engine or run out of anti-gel, stuff like that. What are you doing? I ran you so much today. You love that snow, huh? It's cold out there. Oh yeah, and here's a fun one. This condensation in the winter sometimes will literally turn to snow and frost on the windows. This has happened to me multiple times in a truck. In my Prius, it's just everything freezes over because it gets that condensation wet. So that's another thing to prepare for if you know, you're not sure or you don't have the heat or the cold, stuff like that. Like that's totally normal. But one thing that you'll want to think about is mold. So you don't want things to stay wet. So let's say you have a rooftop tent or a pop-up, things like that, or just in rain, right? Just being wet in general. One thing that you want to do, oh my goodness, I would have almost forgot to talk about this, is if you need to leave and it's still wet, go somewhere where the sun is out or hang out at the park and just pop that up and let it completely dry out during the day. These windows and the back windows, sometimes they stay condensed if I don't take them off. So it could be like a day later, it's the moisture's trapped behind there. So often the next day I'll kind of just crack this and just let it dry up. Gosh, you guys are so much more to talk about. Now, seriously though, if you guys want to know anything or you have other curiosities that I don't hit on in the next 24 hours, just leave it in the comments. Or if you guys have like things where you're just like, oh my gosh, this happened to me, please put it in the comments so, you know, one, we can all learn from it or we can all talk about it. My favorite thing about YouTube is the community and learning from each other. And another thing, living in a vehicle that you learn pretty quickly if you don't have like a massive RV with 100-gallon tank or more, is that you run out of water pretty quickly. And then you learn how much water you actually use, right? Like, baby, in a house, I mean, I have friends who get charged for over 10,000 gallons. My vehicle holds 30 gallons and I can make that last for an entire week. So you kind of learn to conserve a lot better. But you also learn to travel and look up places to refill water and places to do all the things that you need in the vehicle that might be along your way. So even though you're not out, it's a really good opportunity to fill up. Wow, that's a whole nother topic. Okay, so how to find places to fill up and places to do all the maintenance stuff. So for one, truck stops often will have a water spigot. I found that all of the Mavericks usually have one on the truck side. So what I'll do is I'll pull up and I'll fill up on not one of the high flow tanks because trucks need that, or just wait till it's empty because I really like to respect truckers' times because they are on the clock. They always have a spigot right there. And that's a good place to fill up. If you're in a pinch, RV parks, campgrounds, things like that will have water that you could fill up, but they usually will charge. It's usually $5 to $10. I've seen it all the way up to $25 for water, but your best bet is usually that, or public areas sometimes do. You kind of just keep an eye out and you start seeing them and then you pin them in your Google Maps. There's also some really great resources online for different apps and free campsites and things like that, which I guess is a really good time to talk about that. Camp spots. Okay, so cities, often it'll be illegal, but those are places that sometimes will work. But there are also apps where people review free campsites that they have stayed, and they will pin them and they'll talk about it, and they'll talk about if they got kicked out. They'll talk about if someone knocked. I have been kicked out of places before, and just being really polite and saying, I'm so sorry. Usually they'll tell you where to go. It's not as scary as it sounds. I've never had a bad experience or anyone angry. Now there's wild camping outside the cities. So after more time doing it, you learn what's right and wrong. Campgrounds, RV parks, great legal spots where you will never get in trouble. But not everybody is going to have a membership to a KOA, places like that. Plus, it's really expensive, and sometimes you only want to use campgrounds when it's necessary. There is such thing as free wild camping, but there is right and wrong ways to do it. BLM land, Forest Service land often is free, but there is going to be a time limit. Sometimes it's not available. There's also Forest Service campgrounds that are very inexpensive. Those will have water spigots, pit toilets, things like that. Learning those areas and what's right and wrong, you can't just park anywhere. For instance, on Forest Service land, often there has to be a designated fire ring. You can't just make a campground because you want to. It can be confusing at first. I can't even tell you how many parking lots I just parked in and just that was it. But you do figure it out, and it feels very intimidating at first, but you learn the ropes. The more you do it, you could start being like me where you just zoom in on Google Maps. You're like, that looks cool. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna go check it out during the day before it gets dark, just in case I have to go find a different spot. But there are some incredible resources online where the community can talk together. I'll say it again, I'll say it a million times. Do not go outside and do not start camping unless you look up Leave No Trace Ethics, the 7 principles. Something that I didn't even realize when I first started was little things like how to dispose of things correctly, packing in, packing out, but also that there is literally a correct and wrong way to poop in the wild. Also, just like the unwritten rules of camping, things like that, in order to respect the environment and respect the place and leave it leave it better than when you got there. Not trashing it. There's just so many of my favorite campsites that I went to 5 years ago are shut down. I would say half of them are shut down now because of people disrespecting and trashing them, or just human feces all over the place. That's one of the big bummers of this lifestyle, is the things that are great might not last forever. So we have to enjoy them while we can, and we need to respect them, and we have to try to work together to preserve them, because there's a very large majority of people who do not respect them and ruin it for everyone else. So if we want to keep having these free campsites and these resources, we really need to start working together. You guys, I jinxed myself. The cricket noise is back. Are you kidding me? That's my fault. That's my fault for talking about it. I get it. Moving on. How did I get so lucky to get such a cute, loyal, wonderful boy? Well, there's another problem and a solution. What do you do when you find a stray feral dog in the middle of the desert? Well, naturally, just take them in, right? And they become your best friends, although it is a lot of work. I'll really deep dive into dog stuff tomorrow. One last topic before we go to bed. Internet connection. Working on the road. We'll get into jobs and working stuff a little bit later, but internet is a necessity, right, in this digital age. And I totally get it. So there are a few ways, like Starlink and satellite, that are very well known and very accessible now. It can get kind of expensive, $165 for unlimited for a month, or $50 for 50 gigs, and then $1 a gig everything after that. Or something that isn't advertised, $5 standby mode, which will actually, I tested it. It gets you text messages, like really low speed. It is definitely worth it for emergencies and just texts. But let's say that's not access to you. I did not have internet for the first 3 to 4 years living in a vehicle. I just didn't really know about Starlink. It wasn't as well known. And so what I would do is I would go around to public libraries, usually have very, very fast internet. But also, like, truck stops have internet. And sometimes if you have loyalty or you know people, it's free. There's also parks have public Wi-Fi, coffee shops, depending on the speeds you need. There are also workspaces. Lots and lots of different options. So you don't necessarily need to have a portable internet. But with that, also, it eats a lot of battery. At least mine does. The minis, not so much. And honestly, the service is pretty much exactly the same. So if you're contemplating which one to get, the smaller, I mean, they're so advanced now, the service is pretty much the same. You don't need that like $2,000 dish. I have every single Starlink, and they're no difference. But what I do need to recommend is keeping yourself safe while you are surfing the internet. What I have been doing for the past 6 years is I have been using NordVPN. So in case you don't know, a VPN is a virtual private network. And essentially, when you hook up to a public Wi-Fi, your information becomes compromised. That's things like passwords and just information that you don't want other people to have. And that is where a VPN comes in. In short, a VPN keeps you safe. Now, there are 3 reasons why I love NordVPN and recommend it to everyone I know. For one, you can connect easily in one click. Second, let's say you want to stream your favorite show, but you're out of the country. You can virtually be back in your home country because you can pick where you have your VPN. And then lastly, they have a thing called Threat Protection Pro, which basically keeps you safe from malware, phishing, and all that bad stuff. So if you would like to try NordVPN for yourself, just go to nordvpn.com/Nikki and you'll get a 2-year plan with 4 additional months free at a huge discount. Plus, it is risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. I made this, by the way. This is my merch. So if you want a really cool blanket, it also turns into a poncho. Anyways, this is for Rod Bod tonight. Just wanted to show you guys in case you're new here, because I'm really proud of my merchandise. I spend a lot of time on it. And it helps dogs in need. There you go, Rod Bod. Hey, good boy. This is a necessity for winter camping without heat or a broken heat. This is a 20-degree quilt. I think something that I can never stress enough is that sometimes things are a very large price initially investing, but they will last a very long time. So getting quality gear for me is really important. So this was one of my big upgrades, is a quality lightweight quilt that I not only can use in here, but I could also use backpacking and versatile. So that's why we use it in the van now too. So I don't feel like it was like just this really expensive backpacking purchase. But yeah, I highly recommend getting really quality gear. So if you do end up in emergencies, you know you're set and you're not like just hoping and praying that thing you got and Timo is gonna work. But remember, that's not to say that you need all of the best gear to do this. Remember, I got started with a mattress topper that was in 4 pieces and a $10 cooler and a blanket with nothing to my name. So like, this lifestyle is possible with very little, but as you continue, you just prioritize the next thing that you really want, right? This isn't to scare you. This video is to also empower you that you don't need a lot. That's what's so beautiful about this lifestyle. You don't need a lot. But if you have the means and you have the ability and you want to be like extra careful, these are just some pointers of things that I would have gotten right off the bat if I had the money. It is bedtime. We have so much stuff to talk about tomorrow. Traveling with dogs, insurance, health. Oh my gosh. We're gonna have some good stuff. Night, everybody. Good morning. I can't even really see out. Speaking of condensation, sometimes it's not avoidable. Oh, yeah. Okay, while we're cleaning up, mail, taxes, work. Okay, so these 3 things, mail, taxes, working, all kind of tie together. So for one, living in a vehicle by choice, you do have to have a domicile address with the government, filing taxes, things like that. So how that works is, as someone who hasn't had an address for the longest time, I would use friends or family. I had a friend in Texas who let me do that. My mom and dad, it was really great. But there are also services. For instance, South Dakota is extremely popular for people going there for 24 to 48 hours, claiming residency, getting their driver's license, registering their car, all of that. But then also claiming domicile with things like, I think, America's MAILBOX, things like that. So if you are looking into it, that's a really great option to have a address. But now getting mail on the road is very different, right? So for important documents, there are really great services just like that. I have one with I think it's Anytime Mailbox, and what they do is they scan your documents and it gets sent to you electronically. But if you're getting packages, things like that, there are fees to hold. So when I'm on the road and I want a package, I will call UPS, USPS, and see if they have pickup locations. Amazon has pickup lockers, but often you find out ahead of time and there's a fee to pick up a package. Like the one in Joshua Tree is $10, I think, to pick up a package. There's all different ones, but that is a great way to get mail. Now, working, all that, it gets kind of confusing for some people. So your domicile, like let's say, even though I travel and I go to every single state and stuff like that, I'm still only paying in my business state, things like that. Okay, and next is work while you're on the road. I am someone who went to trade school and I have skills that I can do anywhere. I can literally walk into a salon tomorrow, worst case scenario, and get a job. I am very skilled at that. And I also have other skills, but also I got jobs that got me to travel for free. without even having any qualifications. So I also believe in applying and learning as you go. I was a tour guide in over 25 different countries with zero experience, and it's all because I applied and learned along the way, and I became one of the best hires. So just saying, just because you're not qualified doesn't mean you can't apply and find out if you are. Jobs that are great for on the road that don't require a skill, you know, like handyman work, there's sites for that where you can get on there and be seen. House sitting jobs where you'll get like background checks, things like that. There's websites for that. Uber Eats, delivery services, driving services, things like that. My point is, a lot of people think that people on the road just quit their job with nothing and no plan, and often that's not the case. And just for the record, in my 10 plus years of full-time travel, I've never met a trust fund kid. I know it's really, really easy for us to want to believe that, but it is actually extremely rare, to the point I haven't never met one. Just a lot of people who sacrifice and figure it out as they go. Also some really great remote work, right? I see people in sales that are traveling. So I think the name of the game is build up a savings so you know you have a pad, or if you have that option to build up a savings, and get creative. Think about your skills. I truly believe that if you love doing it, you can make it a job. I'm proof of that. I'm filming what I love. A lot of people think I started YouTube the day I moved into my car. I truly did not think YouTube was more than anything but how-tos, like somewhere you would go to learn how to install something, until I met Paul and Ellie. So before that, for about a year and a half, luckily, my parents taught me savings from a very, very young age, so I had a pad so I could be confident on the road. But I remember just kind of promoting myself. I walked around, I would do people's hair for cash, and really just kind of like try to be innovative. I remember I was doing trade jobs. There was a time when I was working for a company. So I used to be a full-time model, and so I did a lot of promotional work as well. So I would end up in like doing samples at wine places and things like that. And it was great. It was like $50 an hour. It was insane. Kind of just, there's so many odd jobs. Like, think about it. When you go places and you see people working, you're like, is someone really standing there? And you just assume like, oh, they're standing there because they want to. No, they're getting paid to do all these things. After you. We'll get to dogs in a minute, but first, I get this a lot. What if you have kids? We can't do this lifestyle with kids. And to that, I actually disagree. Being on the road, I've seen a lot of van life children, and they're some of the most social, smart kids with the experiential learning, things like that. I think that it's really just up to the family. Some people it's great for, and some people it's not great for. So if that's something that you want to do, I have seen so many successful families do that, like so many. So don't feel like you can't if that is something that your family wants to do. This is a dog-friendly shop.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Okay, I'll pull it
Amazing. I'll come meet around the other side. All right, we're going to the shop area. Come on, Camp, this way. How deep is that snow? All right, she's going in. Ready to work. So you guys are probably wondering, what am I doing? Taking perfectly good side steps off and putting new side steps on. And the reason is, this is an issue I didn't realize I was gonna have until years in. The little holes on the side steps are actually dangerous for dogs, and I just learned this the hard way. Rodney's paw, because he has a small paw, got stuck in the hole and he got hurt. And it scares me that it's gonna happen again. So instead, I got from Rome Built their flat side steps. They don't have holes in them, so that way there's no chance at injury. So thankful. I looked everywhere and they're the only ones on the market, so go Rome Built, super dog friendly. Yeah, let's reveal these bad boys. I'm so excited. Very, very minimal chance comparatively. And they have the grips here.
And these will have bolts in them, so there's no hole.
Oh, really?
Yep. And then they do the soft grip. so it even barefoot, it won't really poke your foot.
On the topic of dogs, we are going to cover everything because there is a lot that goes around traveling with a dog. It creates a lot more challenge. For me, it's worth it, the pros and the cons, but you're not going to be doing things at your leisure, and things are going to be a lot more complicated. So we already talked about the temperature and keeping them safe there. But there's a lot of other things like medical, places you can't go, restrictions, laws, things like that. So let's start with where dogs are not allowed, which is becoming more and more places. Like if you're in Florida, for instance, and you want to go to the beach, there's only specific beaches that allow dogs, but if they do, they're usually amazing. Like Jupiter Dog Beach is incredible. But national parks, if you want to go to national parks and you have a dog, it is extremely tough because they're only allowed where a car is allowed and specific trails, which is only in like a handful of parks. Otherwise, not at all. So how would I navigate that? There's a few ways. For one, every national park usually has a dog sitter very close by. It's like a huge business. But you'll want to get there days in advance because there's usually a temperament test and you have to make sure you have all your vaccine records and all that, and that they get along with other dogs and they are not aggressive or selectively aggressive or reactive. My dog Camper is selectively aggressive / reactive, so it's a lot harder to get sitters. So what do I do for that? I find board and trains that are behavioral specialists. We do sometimes it takes weeks, but that is super, super helpful because then you have someone who can really train them at the same time. It's often a lot more expensive, but I now have like 4 trusted trainers all over the country. And often I just won't do things if my dogs can't go. So you don't see me in a lot of national parks anymore for that reason. Now, medical. So let's say the dogs have a medical emergency. We'll get into human in a little bit. It's very similar. So you don't have a regular vet. You don't have really anything. Keep all your records on you. I have a folder in my van for each dog. And then I will find 24/7 clinics. That is the best bet, especially when you have an emergency. You can just walk in and wait. But it's kind of like a patience game. I will often just call all the best rated vets in the area until somebody can see me in the amount of time that I'm there. But yeah, I can't tell you how many vets we've been to. We don't really have a regular vet. We just keep up really healthy and things like that. Oh yeah, and this one is huge. I actually needed to use this once with an instance with Rodney. He got into something. There is a poison control hotline for dogs. I believe it's through the SPCA. Double check that for me, but you can call in for a fee, I think around $75. They will guide you through the entire process if you think your dog ingested something. It's amazing for peace of mind. I personally used it, and there's other resources like that for dogs as well. I always kind of I have this list of things that I always have ready. Oh yeah, and some people love pet insurance. Some people say it's not worth it. I personally don't have it, but in the beginning, I imagine it would have saved me a lot of money with all the issues my rescue dogs had. Because as you guys know, my dogs were not planned. It was like a very spur of the moment thing. Want me to hold that side? Wow, that's dirty. I've only had my van cleaned once. This is 3 years of schmuck. I gotcha. Oh, what did I hit?
You know, some people really care, and some people really don't. It's not in between like, oh, we should look nice. Some people are like, awesome.
Yeah, the van is made to get messed up, I think. Like I have scratches all over.
Yeah.
That's the point. Go off-road. There it is.
And I'll save all this. I'll bag all that.
Oh, in case we need it. Thank you. You too. Next topic. Everyone always wonders about hygiene, showers. Hygiene is about the same. If you have water, you're just brushing your teeth, sometimes spitting it into a cup, sometimes into a sink. Lady problems are very, very much the same. Disposal is just a little bit different. Just got to get a little creative. Using bathrooms. A lot of people do not realize that bathrooms drastically vary in every single type of rig, whether you have one or you don't. I did not have one in my Prius, so I was always going to public restrooms, parks, gas stations, truck stops, gyms. At first it didn't seem like a lot, but now that I have one, it was a lot. Let's talk about poop. So there's a reason that most vans and overland style vehicles and things like that do not have black tanks. And it's because they are kind of, in my opinion, kind of gross to deal with, and just an extra step. This also goes for cassette toilets, compost toilets. They're great for some people. For me, not my jam. I like bags. So let's talk about the logistics of these things. And tell you a little story. So I was in a van once and I didn't realize that when you have a black tank, you have to treat it a specific way. Otherwise, within days, the entire van is going to smell. If you think about it, you're driving around, it's sloshing, it's not like your typical flush toilet where it gets dealt with. So unless you are an RVer or someone who's going to be hooking up to the sewer and the water at RV parks and that's the only place you're living, I'm not sure if it's worth it, because otherwise you're constantly putting on gloves, taking them off, or maybe you have your thing. I have done it and it just felt like something that wasn't right for me, but it's right for a lot of people. There are things like incinerating toilets. They use a lot of power, but I've heard amazing things. I've also heard from people that they break really easily, but that's a no waste. There's also one that I really actually want, but it's too big for my van build, and it bags everything up for you. You press a button and it seems amazing. But yeah, before that, like I was saying, just public restrooms, things like that. So really something to think about is what you want to go into it, right? Composting is going to be something that you're going to have to upkeep. Cassette is something you're going to have to take out and you're going to have to dump. So think about the amount of effort and what type of physicality you're going to want to get up close and personal with your movement, right? Anyways, that's my poop talk for the day. I was on Patreon, and apparently if you have a membership at Camping World, you can dump for free, and apparently dump costs really add up. And then secondly, you can also go to water treatment sites and they also have free dumping. So for those of you who do have a black tank, that's a great way to save it. All right, here you go. Here you go.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, enjoy. Okay, we're gonna go around the shop and we're gonna get all the professional opinions on the car side of things, on problems, prevention, and solution.
One thing everybody has and nobody thinks about is lug nuts. You need to check your lug nuts. You'd be shocked at how loose they get or over tightened they get. So if you have a Sprinter, it's 130 foot-pounds, check them before your trip. Save you a lot of problems.
But also, something I learned the hard way is once a year, even the stuff on the inside, like all the hardware and stuff, tightening it up. Because I didn't do that. All hardware.
If the wheel falls off, you're going to have a bad time.
Fun fact that actually happened to my friend while I was in the vehicle once. We were in, I think it was their Audi, and I was like 16 years old. The tire, the whole wheel went flying and went straight into someone's house. It was the most terrifying thing that has ever happened to me.
Everybody I've met has a story of a wheel coming off, and that's the thing that shouldn't happen. And you can prevent it with a torque wrench and checking your lug nuts.
Right. Sierra Adventure here.
Yep.
Mike, you got any tips for us?
Always bring a toolkit, and I don't trust myself to just remember what to stuff in my kit. So a couple years ago, we were on our way to Moab, and we built a tool list. So it's got all of our tools for our van, for helping other people get unstuck or recover their vehicle, all the tools to repair anything that breaks in our van, and then also all the spare parts. So we bring wheel studs, we bring power steering lines or hoses. So I have a complete list that I keep, and I just check through the list before we go on a trip.
That's so valuable. Honestly, I personally want to look at that.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the link, a link in the description to that checklist, because that is so powerful. Yeah. She's going on.
Good if you guys want to let go. I just need to get them out.
That is nice. Do you find that the big brand RV Winnebago, that they fall apart a lot, like pretty easy, or are they like made well?
I think of them as like the Sportster of vans.
Yeah.
Right, like everybody gets one. It's great. It introduces them to van life. They love it. But after 2-3 years of owning it, they realize what they probably would have bought. But there's no way to know that without experiencing
it.
And it's a great financing's available, walk in, take it off the lot, no wait.
Just like buying a car.
That's why they're so popular. And they're good. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just kind of that intro to van life.
Yeah.
And for some people, it's all they need and everything they need.
And they love it. I hear
But
so many
most
great
second
things.
van owners are going to a more custom builder or doing a little bit more expansive of a builder specific to their needs.
That makes so much sense to me. And that's why I always say rent vehicles and live in them before you decide to spend
with-
$200 plus
You can rent all
$1,000.
this stuff on Outdoorsly.
Yeah.
And then just try it out and see if you like it.
That's how I figured out my custom build. I love my custom build, and I would still make changes though.
Yeah. It's
Which might
it's
be
never
coming
ending.
soon. They might be coming soon. So next common thing, what if I don't have a van? What if I don't have a vehicle? I am perfect testament to not needing that, but also rent vehicles. Try them before you buy them. That's my number one piece of advice, because every vehicle I was in before this had something I would change and something I didn't love. And now learning that these basic RVs cost the same as a custom build, I might do my research first and really put my money into loving my van. But remember that you don't need to spend all that money. I had maybe $300 into my Prius, living in it, and slowly upgraded. Didn't have a lot, barely anything, and I was thriving. Maybe not thriving, but I was having a really good time. Places you can rent vehicles. One, you can just do a regular rental, put a mattress in the back, get little components in a cooler, and see if you just want to use your car. Or just test it that way. Two, Outdoorsly. Do you know any other rental places? There's a lot, like even like Vancraft. There's different like actual van rental places. It is expensive, but if you're gonna be spending thousands, hundreds of thousands on your home, might as well know exactly and maybe invest a little bit in getting it right. Wow, this is beefy. Really well made. Let's test. We got one more step to go. Go ahead. Oh. We like the new steps, huh? We are so close to being done. I'm so excited. And we got a few more things to talk about. Wildlife. I feel like, what do you do when you encounter wildlife? Are you afraid of wildlife? Wildlife is something that you will come across, especially if you wild camp, and depending on the region you're in. So preventative and solution, what do you do? Depending where you're going, I want you to look up the wildlife in that area. Bears, cats, mountain lions, those things, reptiles, snakes, what are poisonous, even spiders. One time I got bit by a brown recluse and I knew it was in that area, so I knew what to do. Still have a scar from it. I've come across 20 plus grizzly bears in my lifetime. Even polar bears, which yes, was as terrifying as it sounds. But point is, the best thing to do is figure out what's in that area and the best way to react when you come across those, because there are so many different ways and they are completely opposite. Like black bears, grizzly bears, polar bears, mountain lions, don't run, things like that. What you should do, rattlesnakes. I even had a cobra snake go over my foot once. Like, it was so scary. But also what to do if there is an attack, which is very rare. In my experience, wildlife are more afraid of us than we are of them. But with people feeding wildlife and getting too close to them, especially in parks, which is not good, do not do that. Leave the wildlife alone. That will create more problems. They're getting more humanized. Sorry, I got really distracted because the dog was running after camper. I had to make sure he was safe. Speaking of that, always making sure your dogs are safe. But yeah, so know what to do. And animals are becoming more humanized because we are treating them like they need us, but they don't. They need to make sure that they stay wild. So is it a possibility that things can happen? Yes. So just know what to do in that situation. We're almost done. And then we're gonna have safe steps for your paws. You're never gonna get hurt again, Rod.
I already signed a waiver for it.
Thank you.
And then I'll leave you one more.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, guys. Thanks for everything. I love the guys here so much. Okay, we're almost done. A few more pointers. Okay, health, emergencies, insurance, things like that. Health is a really interesting thing. I feel like in general, American health insurance is a whole nother rabbit hole to go down, but for the past 7 years I have had a health insurance that only works in one state in the US, and they didn't have any plans that would be nationwide. So I have been paying out of pocket cash anytime I needed an appointment, and to be honest, I've been doing pretty great with that. It's actually a lot lower than you would expect. Now, how I get those appointments is a lot like I was saying earlier with all other things. It's just a lot of patients, a lot of calling around, or a lot of emergency clinic work, but also, like, I know one time I had to go to a lady doctor just for checkups, stuff like that. And I found one in Oregon. It was $250 for everything, lab tests, all that, cash pay. If I ever need physicals, I will go to a specific place or go to the home state to get everything done and leave. But, you know, I had a dermatologist once, and there was a pop-up $100 in Florida, and just went in, got a body check, did a little biopsy, $100, we were good. So there are really great deals to still be able to stay up on your routine health care while you're traveling full time. It's really not as complicated as it seems. The only thing that could get complicated is health insurance. This year I did switch my health insurance to a nationwide plan. I think I'm gonna test it out before I start talking about it. It seems a little too good to be true, so before I tell people about it, I'm gonna start to use it because I just got that this month, and I'm really excited about it. But some other health things, telehealth is incredible and a great resource. There are all different ones. There's one just for lady things. There's one just for sickness. There are also ones that your insurance might provide for free. So really, really smart to just be updated on that stuff. But health-wise, calling multiple doctors, right? Like when I tore my meniscus really, really bad, that was a few years ago in Tahoe, actually. How ironic, on a really bad date. But the best deals that I found was under $500 for MRIs, doctor's appointments, plan treatment, stuff like that in Arizona. And I spent 2 weeks there, and thankfully had a health savings account where I took money out to get a hotel for a few weeks because I couldn't move around in my Prius, and to get treatment. And it was just a really smart thing to do. But in other cases, maybe I would get a campground for a week, so I didn't have the stress of needing to find water, electricity, and just the stress of needing to find a place to sleep. So thinking about things like that and budgeting on the side for emergencies, because getting sick and getting hurt is not usually in the budget, but it's always good to have an emergency fund. And it actually has an added insurance. There are different tiers, but I think it's $25 a year for me to have the ability to be helicoptered out and saved in the backcountry. I think it's like a $50,000 coverage on that, not including my insurance at the hospital, stuff like that. So that felt really smart for such a low fee, but it's not necessary for everyone, but also a really cool thing. What do I do for showers? I have 2 different showers in my van. When I was in my Prius, I actually had a very large amount of gallon jugs, poke holes in the caps, and take a shower right there with a gallon jug of water. Worked out great. Baby wipes, things like that. You get really innovative when you live in a vehicle. You kind of just figure out what you need and you adapt and you make cool things. Or you get gym memberships or campground showers, and some campgrounds even have $5 fees to use their showers, or their coin showers. There was even Sisters Oregon has a coin shower in the middle of a kids' play yard. Yeah, really interesting stuff there. And let's see, what's the last of it? What do you do if you get lonely? The thing about VanLife is as lonely or as community oriented as you want it to be. It can be one of the most lively community-based places on the planet, and it can be one of the loneliest places on the planet. And when you're in a really dark place, it can be a really dark place. But when you're in a really good place, it can be the best place on the planet. So really knowing yourself and being strong and independent and capable and confident in yourself. And even though you might feel uncomfortable putting yourself out there because everyone feels the same way you do. Sometimes we want to be alone and sometimes we want to be all around friends. So take loneliness as a blessing, because it reminds you that you do have the ability to have incredible connections. So when you get lonely, lean into those connections. That's my biggest advice. And finally, before we go on our way, I think the biggest thing about van life is you are going to come across problems, and some aren't going to be predicted and some you could never have changed, and it's just to roll with the punches and know that you are capable and things can be fixed, you know. The worst things in the world sometimes can be a blessing. I think my favorite part about van life is it teaches me not to take things so seriously and grow as a person and just laugh everything off. And life really isn't as serious as we think it is, and it's about having fun. So I think that is what I want to leave with everyone, is no matter what you come across and no matter what happens, life is a journey and it is a beautiful experience. So just treat it as such. And if you can, just make sure you're having fun the whole way. Honestly, this could be a 10-hour episode. I have so many tips and pointers because I've been doing this for so long. Say goodbye, boys.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Thanks for being here. See you next Friday.